The ping hit my screen like a slap in the face, pulling me out of the monotonous hum of the break room microwave. Stop overthinking it and just sign off. 8 words from Sarah Jenkins, the fresh-faced HR coordinator who'd barely unpacked her MBA diploma before she started throwing around terms like talent acceleration and hiring agility. I froze. Soup forgotten. Staring at those pixels as if they were a loaded gun pointed straight at my career. The air in that cramped space thickened, my chest tightening like a vice, not from fear, but from the quiet rage of knowing this wasn't just a suggestion. It was an order to bend the rules, to ignore the red flags waving in every incomplete Form I-9 piling up on my desk. I'd been the gatekeeper for years, the one who double-checked expiration dates on visas and caught phony social security numbers that could land the whole company in hot water with ICE. But Sarah? She saw compliance as a speed bump on the road to quarterly targets. I didn't reply, didn't storm her cubicle. Instead, I captured the screenshot, timestamped it, and filed it away in a new folder labeled HR Directives, October. My hands were steady, but inside, something cracked, a fracture born from years of being dismissed as the paranoid one, the stickler who slowed down the momentum. You don't fight a wildfire with shouts, you build a firebreak and let the flames expose themselves. Back at my desk in the bustling open-plan office of Apex Tech Solutions, a mid-sized software firm in downtown Seattle, I pulled up the latest batch of onboarding files. The company was on a hiring spree, chasing venture capital dreams after a big funding round. But the paperwork was a mess. One candidate's driver's license showed a birth date that didn't match their W-4, another had no photo ID at all. Just a scribbled note saying, "We'll provide later." I'd flagged them all, sent polite reminders to HR. But Sarah's team kept pushing. "We need bodies in seats yesterday." Bodies. Like they were interchangeable parts, not people whose lives could unravel if an audit hit. I remembered Miguel, the new custodian who'd started last month, quiet guy, always polite. But his I-9 had a mismatched visa number that screamed trouble. If DHS came knocking, he'd be the first collateral damage, deported or worse. While the execs sipped lattes in boardrooms, the betrayal stung deeper than policy. It was personal. A slap at the integrity I'd built over a decade in this role. I wasn't just a compliance analyst. I was the last line of defense against the kind of scandals that made headlines and tanked reputations. But to them, I was the obstacle. That afternoon, they dragged me into a quick alignment huddle in the glass-walled conference room overlooking Puget Sound. Sarah was there, perched on the edge of her seat with her ever-present iced matcha, flanked by her boss, Karen Mills, the HR director who'd climbed the ladder on charisma rather than caution. 2 others joined consultants from the DI team, spouting buzzwords about inclusive scaling. Karen flipped open a PowerPoint, charts glowing with red arrows pointing downward. "We're bottlenecking at compliance," she said, her voice smooth as corporate silk. 45 new hires pending. And Ops is screaming for staff. Legal's on our backs about delays. I leaned back, arms crossed. Then tell Ops to send complete files. I'm not greenlighting half-baked I-9s. That's a federal violation waiting to happen. Sarah snorted. A quick, dismissive sound that echoed in my ears like mockery. Come on, Alex. It's not fraud, it's flexibility. We can tidy up post-hire. Tidy up. As if forging audit trails after the fact wasn't a felony. The room chuckled, low and uneasy, like I was the killjoy at a party. Karen waved it off. Approve them. Flag for cleanup later. We need to move. I repeated it under my breath, move, as I walked out, the word tasting like ash. They were gambling with lives, with the company's future, and laughing it off. The silence I chose wasn't weakness, it was strategy. a coiled spring waiting to release. I didn't explode. Not yet. Back in my cubicle, surrounded by the click-clack of keyboards and distant chatter, I opened a fresh spreadsheet, I-9 exceptions tracker, Q4. 3 columns, missing elements. Override by. Timestamp. No opinions. No accusations. Just cold facts. By end of day, I'd logged 7 entries, blank certification sections. Expired work authorizations. One with a social security number that didn't pass basic verification. All stamped approved by Sarah's login. I printed it, signed it, and locked it in my filing cabinet, the one nobody touched because paper is so last century. They wanted deniability. I'd give them a mirror. That evening, as rain pattered against my apartment window in Capitol Hill, I backed it up to a personal drive. Hope wasn't a plan, evidence was. I'd seen it before at my old job, a rushed audit. Panicked forgeries. Careers ruined. This time, I wouldn't be the scapegoat. The hurt ran deep. A quiet ache from being undervalued. From watching ambition trample ethics. But pain sharpens focus. And mine was laser-like. The pressure built like storm clouds over the next week. Sarah breezed by my desk one morning. Sunglasses perched on her head despite the overcast sky outside. "Thanks for rolling with it yesterday," she chirped. As if we'd shared a joke. I nodded, eyes on my screen. But inside, the fracture widened. Rolling with it meant complicity. And I was done. I drafted the email that night, fingers hovering over keys in the dim light of my home office. Subject: I-9 exceptions, overrides, risks, and approvals. Body concise. Professional, detailing the verbal directive from the huddle. Listing violations with USCIS citations. Bolding the line, "I do not consent to these approvals," proceeding under HR instruction. Attachments, logs, screenshots. The works. I CC'd legal and the CFO. Not HR. Sarah skimmed emails like they were TikToks. Read receipts on. Hard copies printed. One stashed in my car. Sending it felt like exhaling after holding my breath too long, the drop in my gut. The finality. Betrayal wasn't just their shortcuts, it was forcing me into this corner. Making me choose between my job and my principles. But silence had its limits. And mine had shattered. Work dragged on. The office a facade of normalcy. I stopped leaving on time, staying late under the fluorescent buzz. Cross-referencing files. October's batch was a nightmare, 2 SSNs swapped. No docs for 3 hires. Notes like manager vouches instead of actual IDs. I pinged HR for clarifications. Crickets. Statuses flipped to finalized anyway. By Friday, my tracker hit 48 entries, each a ticking bomb. I built a fines projection sheet next, $252 per missing signature, escalating for patterns. Total, over $200,000. My eyes burned. Jaw ached from clenching. But this wasn't about me anymore. It was Jenna in shipping, whose mom had just passed. Her paperwork botched amid the rush. Or Miguel, nodding hello each dawn. Their vulnerabilities fueled my resolve, turning hurt into armor. I asked for a remediation pause phrased in their lingo. Strategic halt for form integrity. Sarah's reply, not now. Too busy scaling. Scaling into disaster. Then it landed. Tuesday morning, 8:14 a.m. Inbox ping. Notice of intent to fine I-9 violations from DHS. $235,000. Dates matched my logs perfectly, October 4th, 6th, 7th. The HR Slack went silent. Then erupted confusion. Denials. Finger-pointing. By noon, legal summoned me to the boardroom. No invite. Just a urgent knock. Bring everything. The long table gleamed under harsh lights. Execs arrayed like defendants, CFO jaw tight. Karen avoiding eyes. Sarah arms crossed like a sulky teen. The CEO entered last, clutching my printed email. One line circled, "I do not approve." He held it up. "This saved us from worse." Legal nodded. "Overrides traced to HR." I slid my binder forward, tracker. Logs. Projections. Read aloud, 48 flags. 37 violations. All documented. Sarah stammered about assumptions. The CEO cut her off. The air crackled. Blame shifting like sand. Karen tried pinning it. Compliance signed off. I countered with access logs, my role view only, her credentials on overrides. Slack screenshots sealed it, Sarah's message glowing. Informal, Karen protested. Deliberate, I said. Eyes locked. The board silenced her. No vengeance in my voice, just truth. Forged from the pain of being ignored. Betrayed by those meant to lead. Recess came. Tense and whispered. They returned subdued. No more deflections. Can we fix this? The CEO asked. I presented my plan, re-verification in 10 days. Corrections. Self-report to DHS. Retraining. Weekly audits. Then my terms, indemnity for refusals. Halt authority without override. Title bump to compliance officer with board access. No verbal shortcuts, written approvals only. Or find someone else, I said. They signed. HRVP's hand shaking. Her empire crumbling. Relief washed slow. But the cost lingered, the trust eroded. The scars from silence turned weapon. Brooke, wait. Sarah was out sick, but we knew. The final session hit unannounced. Air thick with reckoning. CEO nodded. Floor's yours. I laid it out, overrides. Logs. Deliberate breaches. HRVP deflected. Miscommunication. I countered with tamper evidence. Resignation requested, CEO said to her. She left broken. They offered me a retainer post-remediation, veto power. Visibility. Fat pay without the daily grind. I added, no terminations for workers caught in the mess. As I walked out, binder in hand, the chair nodded respect. Nitpicking? I said. The feds call it compliance. The door shut. But the echoes of betrayal faded. Revenge wasn't sweet, it was necessary. A price paid in ink and silence.